What's up? So there's a kind of myth narrative that goes around all the time about marriage. And this is a narrative that comes from, we'll say, the red pill type side of things. The narrative that women are basically these callous, money grubbing whores, and that marriage is a scam designed to ruin men. I want to give you an example of what it looks like. I found a great cartoon that kind of encapsulates this narrative. We're going to have a look at that, and then I'm going to try and kind of pull apart the truth behind it. So this is how it starts. We've got our little stick figures, and the woman saying, I want marriage, and the man says, okay. I want to plant a seed in your head. It's this particular page that we'll be coming back to talk further about this. Next scene. She's now married. She says, I want kids. He says, okay. Here they are with kids. All happy families so far, isn't it? Uh-oh. Looks like she's nagging him for playing on the computer. So he heads out to the yard to start doing some work, and notice how his posture's changed. He's a bit browbeaten now, isn't he? A little bit worn down already as he does all the man work and all the hard tasks. Now he's off to work. He's clocking in. He's making money for the family, doing a hard office job that he probably doesn't enjoy, right? Comes back after all that hard work. She's still nagging him, right? What's she been up to? Nothing, of course, right? And so he feels guilty, and off he goes to play with the kids and, do his part as a dad because she's giving him shit about not doing enough. Oh, and then she goes to her friend and she says, the romance is gone. He doesn't give me enough attention. Of course, her friend says, yeah, girl, you deserve better. She encourages her to leave, and uh-oh, we've got suave black dude. He's in the scene now. You're so beautiful, girl. I can't stop thinking about you. Stop, I'm married. Oh, he just wanted to play a bit of golf with his friends after all that hard work, but even that's not good enough for her. Nag, nag, nag. Oh, he's back. He's looking as suave as ever. He's inviting her over for coffee, or he's inviting himself over for coffee. She's, of course, being very safe and saying, oh, but just coffee, and boom! Sitting up doggy style, straight out of the gate. I'm assuming this is happening in her marital bed. How could you do this to me, says the poor, broken, hard-working, didn't do anything wrong guy. He made me feel special, says the callous whore. Well, somehow that leads to her winning the divorce settlement. Yay! She got bags of cash. Apparently they don't use a bank account. Uh-oh, now he's living in what appears to be a shed, while she continues to get banged in an even bigger shed and keeps the dog. Oh no, she worries. The kids are going to hate me for causing the relationship to break up because these little tiny adults saying we miss daddy. So she makes up some stuff about daddy because she's a nasty bitch, right? Oh, daddy's going downhill a little bit, isn't he? He's really got that sloped posture now. He's drinking on one leg. He's going to work. He's watching his big screen TV. At least he kept that through the divorce. Oh, she's making up more lies about daddy now, isn't she? Oh, I can't believe this psychopath. Now she's going on Facebook and saying that she's the victim and all the... Oh, we got some white dudes coming in now. Handsome white dudes with their model profile shots. Sympathizing with her. I'm more lies to the kids. She's really feeding them some bullshit now. He's out with his new girlfriend. He's at home and all he's got is his massive flat screen. The dog's massive. It's bigger than the kids. Oh, white guy's come around for a bang as well. He says, I'm depressed and lonely. He goes to his mates. They say, hey, try some online dating, mate. Oh, he meets the first girl. There's clearly plenty of catfish. And he's disheartened by that and gives up on that pretty quick. Finally, he gets to see his kids. I don't know how many years it's been now. He tells them that he loves them, and they say, we don't believe you, go fuck yourself, or words to that effect. He texts the girl. She says blah, blah, blah. Threatens to take them away forever. Again, she goes on Facebook and does the same old thing. He loses his crap, destroys his own laptop, and we're back to the beginning. Okay. I want you to just hold on this page right here. I want marriage, okay. All right. Now, let me put out a caveat first. This narrative absolutely has occurred in real life to some people, okay? It goes down pretty much exactly like that for some people, or there's slight variations, but the general arc of the story of the hard-working good guy doing everything right, getting absolutely everything taken away from him, his kids turned against him, so on and so forth. I've literally personally known guys who have gone through this. It definitely does happen. Well, the problem is, for a start, that this is peddled as some sort of representative of marriage norms. Okay, when this kind of thing's posted around the internet, it's basically like, yep, this is what all guys are signing up for. Why would you bother? It's a horrible experience. Rather than the far more likely it's somewhere in the under 10% range that this kind of thing happens, probably even far less than that. And when you consider the way the narrative is portrayed, which is that the man is this decent guy and this woman is just cold-blooded, pure psychopath who doesn't mind destroying him on a whim, that percentage is much, much, much lower. Okay, true psychopaths only make up about 1 to 3% of the population. Very few of them actually go through with getting married. Most of them are just very promiscuous and unmarried for the most part, but not always. So a female psychopath to this level of kind of callousness and grandiosity is very, very rare. Though she might have multiple husbands, so she might do this more than once in her lifetime. This is the kind of story we see in Red Pill and MGTOW and all these kind of like women are the enemy type groups that try to sell the story that marriage is bad for men. And I'm not actually here to argue that it's good for men. What I am here to say is that the story is misleading. And it comes back to that first frame. Let's just have another look at that first frame, actually the first two. Let's have a look. Let's just share that again. I want marriage. Okay. I want kids. Okay. Now this part is actually kind of accurate. I quite like the way they portrayed that part. You notice it's not the guy leading. It's not him saying what he wants. You'll notice that he just seems to be placating the woman, just giving her whatever she asks for. And that he's not overly enthusiastic about the ideas or anything. He's just kind of doing his bit. And then as the story goes on, he keeps up that theme, doesn't he? She berates him and he just bows his poor little posture and goes off and works hard and does everything, doesn't he? And yet the story is sold as that the woman's the bad guy, right? That the woman is the perpetrator and the man is the victim. How is that the case? Now, I'm going to be quite harsh here, and especially I'm trying to do so with compassion for any guys who have been through this. But the simple fact is, if you want to recover from this, prevent it from happening or prevent it from happening again, if you want to become the kind of man that this thing doesn't happen to, it's not about running away from women or commitment. It's about recognizing the lack of responsibility in the very beginning. See, there's actually frames that happened before the marriage one. You know, they haven't drawn this up. They just went straight to the part where it starts at marriage because I guess they're trying to debunk marriage as a good idea. But what about the dating part, which always happens before marriage and often for quite a few years? What was the man like there? Was he still just okay, dear, to everything? When he originally chose the woman, how did he choose her? Was he like, I am going to boldly go and confidently approach my favorite woman and I won't settle for anything but the best? I'd rather be single than be with somebody who doesn't respect me. Did he go into it like that? No, he did not. He went into it like, oh my God, anybody who loves me, I'll take it. Right? I've just got to prove to my father and to myself and to the world that I am worthy of a woman. I'll do anything to keep her. I'll take any shit I need to take, and so on and so forth. See, by the time we get to that first frame, I want marriage, okay. It's already too late. This guy is already in deep in a very bad toxic relationship. And it's not even necessarily true that the woman's the bad guy. Now, in the way they portrayed it, that was kind of extreme example, but what they didn't quite portray is his emotional unavailability. They didn't portray his spineless people-pleasing and the constant aggravation. They didn't portray his porn addiction. They didn't portray his unwillingness to initiate sex or lead anything of value. They didn't portray his unwillingness to stand up for himself or stand up for the family. They didn't portray any enthusiasm to play with the children and be a good father. This guy wasn't doing any of that stuff. He was just meekly following his wife's orders. You think that's going to make her, the best of her, come out? Do you think that's going to elicit the most valuable, compassionate, wonderful behavior? Is it possible that she's actually got a case here? A case for being emotionally neglected? Now, nothing justifies cheating. Nothing justifies lying to kids and turning them against the father. All of that stuff is just pure psychopath, right? It's just absolute evil. But the build-up to the marriages that are like that, they fall apart, and usually what really happens is, while the wife will probably win all the legal stuff, especially in the United States and the United Kingdom, where it's all stacked against men, but isn't globally representative. There'll probably be some acrimony, but for the most part, there'll be shared custody, and the wife will actually want the children to have contact with their father and so on. That's more likely than the, abusive psycho who tries to turn the kids against the father while she's off cheating promiscuously with many men. That's very rare. It happens, but it's rare. You hear about it because it's so dramatic, but it's nowhere near as normal as a kind of slightly acrimonious divorce. What you don't see in those frames either is the many, many years of frustrating hard work that the wife put in to try and change the husband, to try and break him out of this, and to try and make him step up and be the man that he insinuated he was when they were dating. That kind of false promise he made in the first 3 months that he has not lived up to. That guy he pretended to be in order to get her and hasn't eventuated. He didn't consistently maintain that, I worked with many kind of broken couples, and it's always the woman who comes to me on behalf of the couple. The guy is usually resistant or very reluctant to get involved with any kind of coaching or therapy. And the story, which is always validated by the guy, is basically she's been busting her ass trying to turn the marriage around, and he's been doing sweet fuck all. He just will not. He'll make lots of promises, but he never lives up to them. And then by the time she cheats or does some other bad behavior on her part, it looks like she's the bad person, right? When she was essentially driven away. Like I said, I'm not condoning cheating. I think cheating's a very cowardly piece of behavior that if you want to cheat, you should just break up with your partner and then find someone else. But it's not something that's dropped out of the fucking sky. It's not just some evil act on an impulse or a whim. There's a build-up to it. And a satisfied woman who has a real man, as a husband who's a good father, stands up for himself, portrays the sort of necessary masculine strength that's required to make her feel safe and for her to respect him, she's very, very unlikely to cheat. Very, very unlikely, in my opinion. What you usually get accompanying this kind of narrative is statistics like 9 out of 10 divorces are initiated by women. And even tacked onto the side, and it's because the woman found a better man, hypergamy, as the red pillars would say. That simply is not true. There is statistics, they're easily, readily available to look up, and I'll include a link below this video for the science behind this. And while women are generally the initiators in divorce, I think what you'll find is that they were actually the initiators in everything in that relationship, including the end. And that's actually one of the reasons they're ending it, is their man just would never lead. And so often I work with a lot of nice guys who I reckon are probably a majority niche of the whole male population. Rather than end a bad fit relationship, what they do is sabotage it until the woman ends it, because they're too cowardly to end things on their own. That's a very, very common occurrence, and I'd say that probably more so than anything else is the reason that women are more likely to initiate divorce than men, if that is indeed true. Because the man has basically engineered the divorce without actually pushing the papers through himself. He won't even often realize that he's done this. It will be his avoidant attachment style, sabotaging things at a subconscious level. But if you were to put his behavior long term, out on paper, you'd say that guy wants the marriage to end. Who behaves like that if they want to keep their wife, you'd say. He doesn't see it that way. He says, I've been trying really hard. Yet what you'll find is he abandoned and neglected her emotionally. He refused to engage things physically. He wouldn't stand up for himself. He kept himself busy with work. He was neglectful towards children, whatever. You'll see a pattern of a guy who's trying to get out. He just doesn't see it that way. And what you see is the top 5-10 reasons for divorce. One of them is that the person was promiscuous and cheating, but often that's the person who isn't initiating the divorce, okay? Usually the person initiating the divorce is because their partner was unfaithful, all right? So if mostly women are initiating divorce, it means mostly men are doing the cheating when it leads to a divorce. And then the other reasons have nothing to do with hypergamy. The other reasons about they can't reconcile their finances, they can't communicate properly, they fight all the time, they don't get along with the in-laws. There's all these reasons got nothing to do with another man coming into the relationship, all right? They usually, and this is why I do the work that I do, what you can see when you read between the lines, it's all about the man not stepping up and doing his bit. That's not to say that the woman always is. I've never seen a relationship where one person's healthy and the other person's unhealthy. Okay, that's always two to tango. So the woman's certainly doing her part and she's not making it any better or not helping it along. Even often when they're trying their best to fix the relationship, they just do so in a naggy, critical way. They use gameplay and punishments to try and manipulate their husband into changing. So they're as bad as he is. But they wouldn't be doing that stuff if they weren't trying to get satisfaction from someone who is unsatisfactory. So it's back and forth. It's 50-50, in my opinion. I guess everything I'm saying today is in my opinion. But the reason I portray this, and it's not even really about marriage, but about long-term commitments. There's a story being sold that it's bad for men to get into long-term commitments with women, that women are somehow untrustworthy, callous, impossible to please, and that it's just a death trap, be it a marriage or just long-term de facto relationship. This is bullshit. You'll never see a confident guy, a truly confident guy, complain that this has happened to him. Simple as that. Any guy who's been through this experience, had this experience, or is avoiding relationships because he's afraid of this experience, is a deeply insecure man. All right? A guy who's got his shit together, who takes good care of himself, is psychologically strong and healthy. He's got no fear of commitment, and he's not going to end up with a woman that he should be afraid of. All right? Healthy people and unhealthy people do not end up together. Narcissists and psychopaths do not prey on confident people. They prey on victims. They prey on people who are already victims. The stick figure woman in this portrayal, if she is really as sort of psychopathic and evil as she's portrayed to be, she would have picked him because he was already a loser. All right? She could already see that bow in his posture. She could already see an easy win for her manipulative tendencies, right? So she's not going for the guy who's going to stand up for himself, the guy who's not going to take any shit, the guy who's going to set respectful boundaries, the guy who demands that she always grows and works alongside him and gets everything out in the open and is completely honest. She's not going to go for that guy. She's going to go for the meek, nice guy who will bend over backwards to keep her because he's so desperately afraid of being alone and so pathetically obsessed with getting laid and so on. Right? I'm not here to rag on the guys who have been through this. It might sound like that. I'm not. I absolutely sympathize with you. I am very lucky that none of these kinds of women ever snared me up when I was at my worst, because I would have gone down that path. Came close a couple of times. A couple of she-devils almost got their talons into me. And I was just lucky that by the time I figured out what was wrong with me and started working on it, nobody had really fucked me over yet. It was just luck. I'm not better than anybody. And those of you who have been through such a horrible experience as was portrayed in those cartoons, you were unlucky. A girl like that got hold of you before you've done the work. Before you've done the work on becoming a responsible man, an honest man, a courageous man, a man who will end things that aren't going well, a man who has strong boundaries and enforces them assertively, a man who has high self-acceptance, a man who's willing to be alone rather than be in a less than satisfactory relationship, and so on. You weren't that man yet. Because if you were that man, you have not had this experience. You have not been fucked over in this way. Now, if you've been through that experience, maybe it's irreconcilable, you know, like I will give the red pill guys their due. In certain countries, the law is absolutely stacked against the men, and there's not a fuck of a lot that they can do about it. You know, a woman can be really an unfit mother and a terrible provider and still get custody in some countries, but not all countries. Okay, this isn't a global thing. So you might not be able to repair the situation that's already happened. You might have to wait till your children are adults before you can get them aside and go, look, here's what really happened. And you might have to have some patience and some stoic philosophical endurance there. But in terms of moving forward, you don't have to be jumping on plenty of fish and drinking and desperately crying in your tiny shed. That's not the way forward here. You don't have to run away from women and become misogynistic and bitter and hate-filled either. That's not the best available option for somebody who's only got one life. Your best available option is to ask yourself, how do I become such a psychologically powerful, strong, respectful man? An honest, courageous man of values and integrity. A man that this would never happen to. A man who can safely get into committed relationships because this would just never happen to him. Ask yourself, how do I become that guy? Because a good relationship, it's literally the best thing in the world. Okay, there's a longitudinal study, a very popular, famous longitudinal study on happiness. And it spans over 70 years of a huge sample size, and it comes back pretty clear. The happiest people are the ones that are in great relationships. Hands down, that's the best thing you can do with your life, statistically speaking. So it is a worthy pursuit, but next best is to be a confident guy on your own. Okay, to be in a shitty relationship is nowhere near the top of happiness. It's actually quite far down the bottom. But being in a shitty relationship is worse than being lonely. It really is. And if you've been in one, you know that what I'm saying is true. So understand, okay, I'm willing to be lonely for as long as it takes for me to grow into the man that this kind of damage could never happen to. And then you won't be afraid of women, and you won't be afraid of commitment. And marriage could be something you could do if you feel like it. It's just preference. But the commitment, the loyalty, the longevity of a relationship, that is and can be very safe if you're with a healthy, confident woman who's focused on her own self-development, takes 50-50 responsibility in the relationship, wants you to be your best, wants to be the best herself. It's a wonderful relationship to be in with someone like that. Can happen, it does happen all the time. You always hear the statistics, 50% of marriages end in divorce. Yeah, well, 50% don't. Alright? Some people are fucking very happily married. Right? They stay in for a good reason. Not all of them, but some. And given that most people are insecure, I would expect a low percentage of healthy long-term relationships. Alright? Very few people have the tools and the psychological strength to maintain a long-term commitment that is healthy. But everyone has the ability to become that person if they do the work. If you want help doing the work, get in touch, dan@brojo.org. I can point you in the direction of some good resources, or I can coach you to become that way yourself. And I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching.